Welcome back to another episode of the Wet Pastelist. Welcome back to another episode of the Wet Pastelist. Have you ever wondered what would be a good setup for plein air painting? What are some of the things that artists do? You want to do it on the cheap. You want to get something that's sturdy and reliable because you know you're going to go out and paint all the time. Or do you just want to test it out as cheaply as you can? Today's episode is all about plein air palettes and suggestions for getting started in plein air. This short little video will show you some of the setups that my artist friends and I use when we go out to paint. My group goes out to paint on Mondays and Fridays. And we had recently, on a cold winter day, we had a warm day that we could get out. It was windy. Unexpected things even happen in this video. You're going to get to see where a tree fell across the highway while we're painting. You need to first decide whether you're just interested in seeing how other plein air painters paint, or if you're wanting to try plein air painting yourself. And number two, if you are trying to plein air painting, are you thinking about just how can I do it to test it out, or do you know that you want to plein air paint all the time? Here's a setup by Terry Poley. You see he's got a nice comfortable chair. When you're older, sometimes you have to sit down to paint. Painting outside can be much more tiring than it is inside. Terry keeps his paints and brushes and supplies in just kind of a grab bag. His happens to be an old tool kit, an old tool bag that he has used for years. You just throw the paints in there. He's an acrylic painter. You throw the paints in there and he can just quickly pull them out of the trunk or out of the side seat of the car and set up. And here you see J.O. Buffington. He likes to sit down too. He brings a chair. He also goes back and forth between standing up at his easel and working off the tailgate. J.O. has some limitations with his ability to move up and down hills and things like that. So he paints out of the tailgate, and it could just as easily be the trunk of your car. He just puts his paints and his palette and his water. He's a watercolorist. He puts them on the tailgate of his car, and that is a way that he can have access. He stands and paints, but he likes to sit down and take a rest now and then, and he'll pull the chair back and take a look at his painting for a while and decide what's next to do. And here we have my friend Dave. Dave is an outdoors guy, has done some work for the DNR, and he gets out and paints with us, and he works out of the back of his SUV. He sits on a bucket, so unlike the other chairs that you see that people have, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. Turns over a 5-gallon bucket, sits on it, and paints his watercolors on his lap. So from that, you can quickly see you don't need anything special. Dave and J.O. paint all the time outside. So they haven't gone to the expense of J.O.'s easel has been up and broken legs. So he's not concerned about anything fancy, and it works. As long as it works, you can paint outside, whether it's out of your trunk like these two guys, or whether it is putting your paints in a bag and setting up a chair and a fancy easel. By fancy easel, Terry and myself, we use the Sienna outdoor easel, Richardson. That is a Richardson easel that screws onto any tripod fitting and then mounts on a tripod, and you can move it up and down that way. It's almost like a piece of furniture. It's an expensive little accessory, but man, this thing is tough. So if you're looking for something that you can bang around for years, this is one of the best, and it extends to hold many different sizes. We had just gotten set up, and we hear this crack. Like I said, it was a windy day, but it was nice out, so we finally got outside instead of painting in our sunrooms. And we hear this crack, and then boom, big bang. This tree fell over. The most unexpected things happen when you're painting outside and stop traffic. We're just lucky. I happened to look over and see the tree land on the road, and we're just lucky. 5-10 seconds difference and it would have landed on a car. That's a highway. Pretty soon people come along, and we all got together and pushed off the tree and went back to work. But when you're painting in plein air, you get to see wildlife and everything else. So just be prepared for the unexpected. This is my friend Tim. He's a pastelist and a colorist. And Tim has a unique easel. It was made in Russia. Looked at these. It's like a French easel, but the Russians made the bed out of metal, put a wooden box on it with metal dividers. It could be used for watercolor, oils, or anything. And it folds up just like a French easel, except all the legs are metal. I've seen these on used websites, and they're really kind of a neat easel. Not the cheapest easel because they're out of production, or at least we can't get them here in the States unless you find a supplier that's somehow able to import them. But it's an older easel, and I think Tim told me that his brother got it for him as a gift.
My brother bought it for me for $1. There was a studio going out up in Mineral Point, Wisconsin.
And here's my setup. I use the same furniture type back, the Richardson Sienna. Fits on my tripod. I've got a nice heavy-duty tripod that's got a head. The Sienna head has a tripod screw. If you have a tripod with a quick release head, it's real easy to screw the fitting onto that easel, tilt up your tripod in strong vertical, and you can move it at any angle that you want. On this particular day, I was working out of my trunk, but this particular easel head comes with a backpack also. And so I have a backpack that the easel fits on, straps on the outside of the backpack. All my pastel supplies can go in it, and I can hike off into the woods. But because there's some mobility issues, some of the folks like to work out of the back of their cars or trucks, I just opt to use the tripod and the fitting to work out of the trunk. I hope you got some good out of that, and you got to see the different variations. You can go just as simple as a 5-gallon bucket as a chair and work out of the trunk of a vehicle on your lap, or you could have an inexpensive easel that you can put out, or you can spend the money and get furniture style fixtures for your easel and your tripod mount. So a lot of variations for you, and I really recommend, even if you don't plan to be a plein air painter, because I don't consider myself a plein air painter. I'm a studio painter. So hopefully you will go outside because it sharpens your eye for your studio work. When I go outside, I get to refresh my mind of how light reflects off of different objects and off the ground, and how that light gets reflected into the other things I'm painting. So, and you also, when you paint plein air, you get to see how the light changes. Plein air painters are a special breed because you arrive and there's like this perfect light. You have to remember what that light is or take a photograph of it, because it may take you a couple hours to do a painting. And so then you've got to recreate what those shadows and highlights were. You could start out on a sunny day, and by the time that hour or two is up, the clouds have moved in and it's about ready to rain. So it's a special breed that can look at those things and make those adjustments on the fly. I never was very good at that, and I never really was successful at doing well with plein air painting, but it really, really helps my studio work. So until next time, everybody, happy painting, and please consider going outside, even if it's out of your trunk with a 5-gallon bucket to sit on. Bye-bye.